Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I have what I think is a pretty fun video, and I'm wearing my Mr. and Mrs. Hastings shirt that I got from Hello Lovely Box, which I love and adore. I am a rep for them. My discount code is down below if you want to pick anything up from them. So today's video is all about historical romance, and I thought I would quickly go through my top 15 historical romances that I have read so far in 2021. Some of these are newly published that just came out in 2021, others are definitely backlist titles, but these are all books that I've read that just like wowed me and that became some of my new favorites. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to try and keep the descriptions sort of short because I have so many books to go through, but I'm going to tell you the gist of them, and highly encourage that you read any of these. I loved them all. I thought they were really great. So the first book, also no particular order for these. These are all just titles that I went through my Goodreads and found them and stuck them here. So I don't have these ranked in order of which I love more than others. I love them all. So the first one is Never Seduces Scot by Maya Banks. I adored this romance. This has really become a bit of a booktube darling for a Highlander romance. I felt like this was so sweet, so tender, and so romantic, and I really loved this. This is about our heroine who is actually deaf, and she has a difficult time communicating with other people, and so her family believes that she is touched in the head and that she is a little bit daft. She is in an arranged marriage with a rival clan with her family, and her father goes to meet with the man that she is engaged to right before they leave, and he says to him, "You are getting such a treasure with this young woman." So Graham, the hero, tries his very best to take good care of her and to be a good husband to her, and pretty soon he realizes that she's not touched in the head, that she just is deaf and that she can't hear him. Except for, the really cool thing about this is that she can't hear people's voices, but she can hear Graham on just this low level because his voice is so deep. Their love story was so beautiful and so sweet and so romantic, and I really loved this one. Okay, another one that I really loved was The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan. I feel like this is such a sweet cinnamon roll hero that has a friends to lovers trope, and I just enjoyed this so much. This book follows Jeremy, who is our hero. He is a very cinnamon roll hero, and he is so completely head over heels for the heroine Chloe from the time they were children that he has left the town, leaving Chloe kind of heartbroken that he has left, only to return to a Chloe who doesn't really want to forgive him, and we have Jeremy who is trying very hard to win her, but in a very roundabout way. Like the way he goes about it, like he doesn't just directly tell her that he wants to marry her or that he has feelings for her. He goes and asks her to make a list, because she is so great at making lists and being organized, of all the qualities that he wants in a wife, because he is also the Duke of the town. But the qualities he wants in a wife are all qualities that she has. So he's hoping that she kind of picks up on this. And it's a little bit hilarious. It is so sweet, and it is so just tender, and I just really loved it. Okay, another book that I absolutely loved was Seduce Me at Sunrise by Lisa Kleypas. This is book 2 in the Hathaway series. This has a very angsty hero named Kev, who we see in the first book in this series, who he has been pining for Win, one of the Hathaway sisters, for many, many years. And in this book, Win is determined to have Kev because she has feelings for him too. But Kev is the type of hero where he thinks he's not good enough for her and that she deserves better, and he's very angsty. But this book was so incredible. I loved it so much. I almost think that, I don't know if I liked it more than Mine Till Midnight, because I loved that one too, but this one was excellent. Really loved this one. Okay, another favorite historical is The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. Wow, this book blew me away. This was actually the first Lorraine Heath that I had ever read. It was incredible. This book is all about twin brothers, and one of the twins dies, and the twin that died was married to a woman who is pregnant, and her pregnancy is high risk. She's already lost some pregnancies. So the twin who is alive has decided that he's going to pose as his brother so as not to upset his brother's wife so that she doesn't miscarry the baby. And of course they fall in love. Like, honestly, the plot of this sounds so completely bonkers, but it was incredible. It was so well done. It was high angst, but in a great way. It was so passionate and just beautiful. I loved it. I loved it so much. Okay, the next book is The Raven Prince by Elizabeth Hoyt. I adore Elizabeth Hoyt. I think she is fantastic. I think that almost all of her books are either 4 or 5 stars. Like, they are just incredible. She is an incredible storyteller. She knows how to weave in passion, romance, and adventure and mystery into all of her books in a way that doesn't have one element at the forefront of the others, and this was no exception. I loved this book so much. This book is about a widowed heroine, Anna, who is living with her mother-in-law, and she has recently realized that they are running out of money. And so she needs to try and find a job or something so that they have money to support themselves. She ends up hearing that the Earl, Edward, of the town is looking for a secretary. And so she decides to go and apply for this job. She meets his assistant, and his assistant is really hesitant to hire her because she's a woman. But she talks him into it, and she gets hired. She ends up going to work for the Earl, and they have this really great relationship that is a little slow building and a little bit, you know, he's very much a bristly hero, but also is starting to feel like very soft for her, and it was just so good. I really, really loved this one. Okay, and one of my all-time favorites, probably my new favorite historical romance, is Dreaming of You by Lisa Kleypas. Wow. I get the hype. I get the Derek Craven hype. This book was incredible. I loved it so freaking much. This book has our heroine, who is a writer, and she is a single woman. She's out doing her research to write for her next book, which her books are all about, like, fallen women and vice, like they're fiction, but she chooses to write about these things that are not necessarily proper in good society at the time. She ends up going to this casino that is owned by Derek Craven to try and research and get some answers for the book that she wants to write. As she is on her way there, she ends up saving the life of Derek Craven, who is held at gunpoint, and they start to have this relationship. It is honestly incredibly beautiful. It is so swoony and romantic. It is just amazing. I love it. There are so many gestures in here that the hero does that show how he feels for the heroine, when he, again, is a man who doesn't feel like he's worthy of her, but also is a man who's like, love, ooh, yuck, you know, like, but, like, he keeps her glasses, like, he keeps them with him when she's gone, and she loses them and doesn't know where they're at, and it's just so romantic. I loved it so much. Another one of my all-time favorite historical romances that actually is a new release this year is Waiting on a Scot Like You by Ava Leigh. This is an older woman, younger man romance with a Highland hero, and it was incredible. I love this book so much. It is so much fun, and I just loved their romance so much. Like, he is so sweet and soft and tender towards her, but also a closet dom, and she really wants to live this life of freedom now that her husband has passed away, and she is able to make her own choices and sort of live a life of pleasure that has been denied her, and the union of the two of them was beautiful, and I freaking loved it so much. Okay, another book that really impressed me was her Wicked Marquess by Stacey Reid. Stacey Reid is an incredible historical romance writer. I love how she's able to deal with some darker concepts, and she has this really almost like cinematography level of drama, and like it's almost like a visual experience reading one of her books. Like, I just feel like the setting is done so well, like the mood is done so well. It's just such an experience. I just love it so much. So in this book we have our heroine Marianne, who is very bookish and very, you know, keeps to herself, and she doesn't want to marry a man of the ton. Her parents, on the other hand, really want her to marry, and marry well. So Marianne takes it upon herself when she sees this man leaving a woman's room. She takes it upon herself to turn that story into that it was the man was actually leaving her room so she could be ruined and not be forced to marry. However, the man that was leaving that room is the Marquess, and he definitely has a bit of a darker backstory and a reason why he was leaving the room. They end up having this sort of alliance and friendship that very, very slowly but also very beautifully and very passionately evolves into a relationship. It was so freaking good. I just loved it so much. Okay, the next book is A Rogue to Remember by Emily Duncan. This book was also a new release this year, and this is a debut by this author. This was a beautiful historical romance, and it was so very sweet, and I really loved the setting. The setting in here for most of the book is Tuscany, and it really has like a road trip vibe to it, which is very, very fun. This is a childhood friends to lovers, and it was so sweet. I loved their relationship. It was a very slow burn. It was a little bit of a quiet book, but it was beautiful and compelling, and I just adored it. Also the cover, like, is the cover not so beautiful? I love it so much, and I cannot wait to read more from this author. Okay, the next book is Scourge of My Heart by Lorraine Heath. This is also a new release this year, and this is seriously probably my favorite historical romance well, no, that's not true, because I also loved Waiting for a Scot Like You. One of my favorite historical romances to release in 2021. So this book has Lady Catherine and Lord Griffith. Lord Griffith is the spare in his family, so he is sort of used to being set aside and seen as less important, and so that really affects the opinion that he has of himself and where he sees himself fitting into society. Our heroine, Lady Catherine, has to marry a duke in order to get an inheritance from her grandmother, which is this cottage by the sea that has great emotional ties to her. So Griffith and Catherine are friends, and Griffith really has feelings for her that are more than friendship, and he embarks on this plot to get a duke to ask her to marry him. It looks like it's all going to work out when suddenly scandal rocks Griffith's family and he is cast out of society and leaves town. Years pass, Catherine still hasn't married the Duke, and Griffith returns, and he has realized that his feelings for Catherine have not dimmed at all, they have increased, and their love story, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. He's very much a scarred hero. He is angsty. Oh my gosh, I just loved it so much. This was a great one. Okay, so the next 3 books actually are part of the Maiden Lane series. I marathoned the entire Maiden Lane series this year in the spring. Loved most of them. Almost all of them were 5 or 4-star reads for me, but these were 3 standouts, so I'm going to quickly go over them. This one is Thief of Shadows, which has a virgin Batman, and it was friggin' delightful. I love this book so much. All of these books take place in the streets of St. Giles, and a lot of them are centered around this orphanage that is there, and they have to do with this other darker plot of vice that is overtaking the town. There are often these Batman-type heroes. They're not really Batman, but they're like masked vigilante type of heroes trying to rid the city of crime. They're just so freaking good. This one was so romantic, and I loved the hero in this. Another one that I really loved is My Darling Beast, which has a damaged hero who has been injured in punishment for a crime that he didn't commit. And this one was so freaking romantic, and I just loved it so much. And then my third one is Sweetest Scourge. This book is a very unique one in the series in that we have this hero who is very gruff, a little bit older than the heroine, and the heroine is very bookish and very smart, and she is coming to the hero to try and help him run his books better so that the business doesn't fail, because her brother is actually owner of the business and wants to make sure that he profits on it. But the interesting thing about this is that the two of them are not attracted to each other pretty much at all, and in the beginning, but that changes as they start to develop feelings for each other, and I loved watching how emotional feelings can impact how we view people and how attracted we are to them. It was fantastic. So these 3 were the standouts in the series for me. I loved them all. This one is probably my favorite though. Oh, I loved it so much. Okay, and then another book which will probably come to no surprise to my Lisa Kleypas fans that I dearly loved was Marrying Winterbourne. This is book 2 in the Ravenel series, where we have Rhys Winterbourne, who is arranged in marriage to Helen. Helen is very sweet and very soft. Rhys is honestly very unlikable in the first book, and I loved watching this grumpy, gruff hero just completely fall to pieces for the heroine. It was a thing of beauty, and I loved it so much. And the last book on my list is an old school one, and it is 3 Nights by Deborah Mullins. This book was a very fun surprise. I really enjoyed this. The basic premise of this book is the heroine whose father has recently lost all of their fortune, all of their income, and is in dire straits and is now scheduled to duel Lucien, this man, this very powerful man who he lost all of the money to. So our heroine goes to Lucian and says, look, if you promise not to duel my father and kill him, I will spend one night with you. And Lucian is like, tempting, because you're beautiful. But alas, not one night, 3 nights. And thus begins this passionate 3-night affair where they are torn apart through circumstances, but they never forget those 3 nights together. And then they're reunited 5 years later, and it was just beautiful. I was very impressed with this. It was a great one. Okay, those are my top 15 historical romances that I have read so far in 2021. Let me know if you have read any of these and if you also enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. I will see you in my next video.